obviously you have Twisted's Comic-Con with Astronomicon coming up. What's your favorite part of doing these cons? It's got to be amazing to just meet all these fans and hear their stories.
It's always great to catch up with the fans, especially they're really good with giving feedback as to what they like, what they don't like. With the release of the new Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which I make a couple appearances in, just the posts online have been really kind and generous, and so meeting them in person now that the film has been released is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I can only imagine. Obviously everybody's super excited for Mallrats 2 and Clerks 3, and, have you seen the scripts for anything? Is there any little details? I know probably some stuff's obviously quite under wraps.
Well, we had a Clerks 3 script written a couple of years ago that Kevin had put out. It was more of a very darker kind of vibe to that script. Since then, Kevin has kind of shelved that actual script. We did do a staged reading of that script as a fundraiser for the First Avenue Playhouse in New Jersey, where Kevin had held the auditions for the original Clerks at. They needed funds to modernize the theater, and he offered a staged reading of his script, which was towards the August of last year. So now he's in the process of writing a new Clerks 3 script. I know recent posts on Twitter and his Instagram account, he had talked about that he is putting together the Mallrats 2 script. So it should be, he's very quick when he comes to writing scripts, and he's incredibly smart when it comes to storytelling, especially when it comes to this world, his creation of the Viewers universe.
So, a fan question that was put to me online is, what's your favorite role in one of the films that you've tackled?
Oh man, there's so many different aspects. It's like asking a mother her favorite child. They're all very special to me in very different ways, and they're all very, they're all different challenges and different tacklings. Like obviously the role of Dante. In both Clerks and once again in Clerks 2, and they show up in the first Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. We also did the cartoon series in 2000 for ABC. I mean, that's the one that I'm seen and known for the most.
Yeah.
But portraying, kooky kind of cameos as like Gil Hicks and Mallrats in the game show theme, or playing Grant Hicks in Dogma the News Reporter, or things like that. They were just cool, fun ways to just spread out doing different types of characters. And then working with Brian Johnson from Comic Book Men on his film Vulgar, which was a very dark drama with some comedy elements to it. I mean, that was I would say the most challenging role, but also one of the more satisfying ones, just because it went so deep into such a dark place that it was cool to get that kind of feel to it.
Well, it's like so many people, too, want to know if there's ever going to be a sequel, like a Vulgar 2.
I know, I've been speaking to Brian Johnson the past couple of years, because he's also done these kind of Comic-Con events as well, and we're good friends, but also we're also represented by the same agency to do these things. And talking to him, he had an idea for a script. This was like about 4 years ago, and he said he was going to start it. And he did, and he kind of put it down for a while because they were doing a lot more Comic Book Men type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then he decided, after reading it again, he decided to scrap that whole first draft of what he had and came up with a different kind of angle of where to go, which he told me about a year and a half ago, which I was like, wow, man, in this day and age of the media, this is a great way to kind of modernize, so to speak, to update this kind of storyline and to see where this character is 20 to 25 years or so since the first event. And so he said he would get working on it. He reached out to me in December. We were at an event together, and he reached out and like, I'd like to get together at some point, maybe come up to you and we can work on the script together. And I was like, sure. And so then he got engaged apparently just recently as well. And so and I think they're going to be going on the Impractical Jokers cruise.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's filled his time with other life events. So I don't like to pester him too much about it because I know the writing process is so difficult in general. I mean, so many people try to attempt at writing screenplays, and then, when they do, as everybody knows, you second guess yourself, you try to show it to other people, and so I'm going to give him the time that it's needed because, it's not like everybody's clamoring for it. Like, where the hell is this Volga 2? To hell with Avatar 2. I want to see Volga 2. You don't see people screaming that. So. But in the meantime, I would love to do it. I love the angle. He's given me the synopsis of what he's going to do with it, and I can't wait to do that.
Nice. Is there a role that you're kind of ready to take on that you haven't been offered yet?
There is a type of role. I wouldn't say there's like, I want to play Luke Skywalker's great grandson. Although that'd be cool. I'd be great just to be the Jabba Hutt's grandson at this point. Anything with Star Wars would be fun. Yeah. Every once in a while I'll argue about some of the plot points of the recent films, like being kind of weak, but at the same time, I'm like, I would totally be part of it, though.
Yep, don't count me out.
Yeah, I would totally be a part of it. I'm like, I'm Stormtrooper number 28. Look, all the way to the back, 5 minutes back, six guys over. That was me. Anything like that, just so I can say, yep, I was part of the Star Wars canon as Stormtrooper number 28 on a credit. But there's a type. I wouldn't mind going back to a darker kind of subject again.
Okay.
I've always thought that the darker side of humanity is always spellbinding. That's why these horror cons really do really well. Is people are scared shitless when they watch these movies, but there's something about them like, yeah, what's up with that dude?
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. It's just us looking at it.
I have one producer who's talking to me. There's one producer based in England who's been talking to me about doing something kind of dark, and so we're in the early stages of maybe developing something.
So, when you first took the role in Clerks, did you ever think that it would become the pop culture phenomenon that it has? I know I work a second job in retail, and we're forever going, I'm not even supposed to be here today, or 37, It's like these quotes just come, and it's just been a constant ever since the movie grew such a cult following.
At the time, no. I was just hoping this was literally everybody's first film. So, at the time, I was just hoping to get a VHS copy of what we did, and I could show it to friends. Hey, look what we did this past spring. Isn't this kind of funny? Because it wasn't the type of film that you saw, in theaters, mainstream. And we didn't have the budget to even, afford color film. Never mind, actual grips and actual, makeup departments and stuff like that, or sets, or this was like, all we worked on was just this. No, we all worked our regular day jobs, and then that's kind of why we filmed at night, so that A, we could take over the store without the owner knowing, and B, we all could still work our regular jobs and not, be completely broke at the end of the process. But I am blessed that, it's caught on over the years. When Kevin made Mallrats, and that was produced and distributed by Universal Studios, to, put into real theaters, and it had real, celebrity kind of actors in it, who were well known, and, and the advertisements were like, from the makers of Clerks comes, and they're like, what's Clerks? And so a lot of people were exposed to Kevin Smith's work by seeing Mallrats first, and then going, well, what was this first film he did? Like when Peter Jackson was hugely successful with the Lord of the Rings movies, that's when people went back to go see his movie Bad Taste and everything else like that. And that's what happens to a lot of usual independent filmmakers. Not their first film is a huge hit that everybody sees, and even if it is very successful, not a lot of people see it at first and then go back after their second project comes through.
Absolutely. So, being that we're ageofthenerd.com, what is there something that you nerd out about in your spare time that we might be surprised to know?
What do I nerd about in my spare time that people don't know? I'm a super nerd, just the same thing about, anything Star Trek, Star Wars, anything nerdy. Like, I don't go around collecting pops and stuff like that. I see them every day at, or every time I'm at a convention, so I don't need reminders of giant boxes of Beanie Baby. I mean, Pops, because they are this generation's version of like Beanie Babies and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't do massive collections like that. I don't really collect a lot of things. Like things that I see, I'll grab. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. Or hey, man, that's a great movie. I'm going to pick that up. I nerd about I'll get into those nerd discussions. Those stupid kind of superhero plot points that don't make sense, and you'll just argue with friends like, well, you don't understand. If Tony Stark puts on the glove, yet he has the suit on, like there's all that type of stuff.
Those are like the best debates.
Right. Oh, I do. At one of my Q&As, I really riff on, the first of the new batch of Star Wars film, The Force Awakens, when I talk about how the Force put me to sleep, just because it literally is a rehash of the other three previous original movies' plot points. Once again, instead of it just being a star killer, now they build something that needs to be bigger, that uses the power of a star to then disperse amongst the different planets. And I do this long-running joke in my Q&As about I would love to have been at the initial pitch meeting to the Emperor about the spending cost and the resources that will have to be put into place to turn a moon or whatever that planet was, hollow it out, put all this kind of, electronics and all this kind of piping and all plumbing and stuff to be able to then have the Force to suck. I mean, when you think about it, you have some sort of gravitational device that sucks the actual sun into your planet to then disperse. Why don't you just use that actual sucking power to just tear apart the planet you want to hit? You know what I mean? So anyway, those type of things. When I always scream, I always say, imagine a scientist actually being at one of those meetings. Like, well, actually, if you just destroy the sun, then those planets wouldn't have an orbit to then go around, and they would spin out of control, thus losing their atmosphere. Shut up, science! Remember our first Emperor, Lord Trump said, I will never leave. Anyway, so it's that type of thing that I nerd about all the time, and the fans enjoy it and stuff like that. Especially, that's the thing about Kevin, too. Kevin, being such a great Lord geek himself, he works that into the films, and you hear these kind of discussions into, nerd culture in his films and those discussions. I mean, his latest Jay and Silent Bob, he gets into an Iron Man type suit in the film.
Yeah.
So, and majority, like the final third act of the film takes place at a Comic-Con.
Yeah, I know.
Based on his two characters, Jay, Bluntman and Chronic, and they call it Chronicon. So you can see why the love of the nerddom and the age of geek is that type of feel for us. We've all grown up that way, and especially Jay and especially Kevin himself, just they love to discuss it. If you've ever heard any of their podcasts or been to any of their live shows, it's never ending.
Oh, absolutely. We've been having the same debate amongst ourselves about The Mandalorian. So we're like, it looks like a bunch of green screen.
Right. But sometimes you have to do that when you're doing something for a streaming budget as opposed to an actual paid by, actual supporters and sponsors. It's hard to get some things perfectly right. Like now they just released like the Picard thing, and that's the other thing too. Is like, do we need every major studio to have their own streaming network now and keep everything in house? And literally, we're going to be paying for channel per channel. And I've always wanted to have someone like from the New York Times or someone from one of these Mashable or some of these tech sites to literally have someone go out and sign up for every single streaming service you can, including maxing out whatever your local cable and or dish network offers, and find out what a monthly bill of entertainment would be.
Yeah, we've had that pretty much.
I wouldn't doubt if it's at least $1,000 a month.
If you were to sign up for every single one, it absolutely.
And I'm talking everything like BritBox, like all of it.
Yeah.
Where you can get it through the internet or whatever, what would it come out to? I think that'd be a fascinating story. And then it's going to be like, wow, man, we have way too much media in our life.
This is so very true, and I work for a
And that's the
media
thing, too.
outlet.
It's like going back to the old days of buying a CD where you loved two of the songs, but you get all 13 on the album, and you maybe never listen to the other 12, the other 11. You're just listening to the two favorite songs. It's probably the same thing with these kind of streaming services. Like, okay, great. I get the CBS streaming to watch Picard. And then the rest, I'm like, whatever.
That's like everybody.
I own all the Big Bang Theory on DVD. I don't need to see them on demand.
It's true. That's what people were like, oh, I just got Disney Plus for The Mandalorian, and now I canceled, and that's it. And they just...
Right. And then I'll sign up again when the new season comes, and then I'll cancel. And then they'll figure out that people are doing that, and they'll put some sort of, well, if you sign up, it has to be your contract, and then if you cancel, we get to keep, $125.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to get that way, and it's going to be like, everybody's going to be like, I don't know, man, I can't watch things anymore. Or you're all going to have, like, pools. Like, okay, like book clubs, it's going to be like, all right, we all chip in for the actual subscription. Whoever has the biggest, best TV and the best surround sound, it's their night. On Sunday nights, we're going to their house to watch whatever.
Yep.
I mean, I knew some people in New York City were doing that with Game of Thrones because, not everybody could afford having HBO and all their other kind of channels and still pay their, $2,000 a month rent for their 500, that's their 50-foot square foot space in a Manhattan loft with 20 other people.
I feel so bad. There's a friend of mine, and we all steal his pet. We're like, okay, thanks.
Right. I mean, that's when people were sharing their Netflix password. It was the same thing.
Yep, pretty much. So, in addition to Astronomicon coming up, is there any other upcoming projects in the works for you? Are we possibly going to see you in Mallrats too? And how's that looking?
So far, I mean, I haven't discussed Mallrats 2 with Kevin, only just because, I thought we were going to be going right into a Clerks 3 kind of thing, but we'll see. And it'll be interesting. This will be the first time I've been together with Jeff Anderson, because this show is the very first time Jeff Anderson's even doing a convention. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to talk to him about what he's talked to Kevin about and stuff like that. As far as other projects, there are a couple of films that are making their rounds right now in the film festival circuit. I did a cameo of this really dark thriller called Shooting Heroin, about a Midwestern town, folk getting sick of all these drug dealers poisoning their town with meth and then other drugs, and they start to kind of get together for a kind of like a militia to round up the drug dealers. So that's called Shooting Heroin. That's making the rounds of the film festivals right now. Another film I did about a year ago is now making its rounds too, called Right Before Your Eyes. It's about a guy struggling with alcoholism, and his wife leaves him, takes their 7-year-old autistic son with her, and he struggles to get back to sobriety. And I play one of the good friends who was one of his drinking buddies, but tries to help him get back to his sobriety. So that's making the rounds right now. Nice. And then there's 2 other films. There's a web series that I was a part of that's in post-production right now called A Couple of Guys. There's a bunch of great New York actors who are part of that. That'll be a streaming, probably YouTube channel kind of show. And then I have 2 or 3 other projects that people want to be a part of. This one project over in England that is in the early stages of development. And then hopefully Clerks 3, we can start shooting that sometime this year if we can get, once Kevin is done on the final tour of the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow, which I think ends at the end of February. I can see him buckling down to get the funds together for Clerks 3, hopefully. Or he decides to skip it over and go right into the Mallrats 2 thing. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. And then after that, it's just there's a bunch of Comic-Cons appearances that I'll be doing this year as well.
That's great. Are we going to see you in San Diego as well?
I did last year San Diego. I'm going to see how we do this year for San Diego. Last year I actually had 3 projects to promote. I had this biopic film that I was associate producer and also part of called Shooting Clerks, about how Kevin made Clerks. It's great. That's in the process of finalizing for their distribution. We also were promoting, obviously, the Jay and Silent Bob movie. And then Jason Mewes directed his first feature called Madness in the Method, which I was a part of, and that was released back in October. You can find that on iTunes and Amazon Prime and Google Play movies as well. So that was a lot of fun working with him. He had a lot of great cameos. As a matter of fact, it was the last featured cameo of Stan Lee was in that movie.
Yeah. So I had another fan question come in, and somebody said they wanted to know who is your muscle and who gets your food at these cons, and said you would know who it was.
I'm sorry, what was it?
I said somebody asked who's your muscle and who finds your food at these cons. They said you'd know who it was.
Oh. Well, it's usually Smitty. This guy named Smitty, if he comes to them, is the guy.
Yep, that's him.
Yeah. Smitty's a good guy.
Yeah, if he hit me up, he's like, he'll know.
Yeah. Usually, when anyone's called their muscle, that's pretty much the first guy I think of. So.
That's great. Well, you certainly seem like you have a very busy rest of the year coming up, so it's awesome. We can't wait to see everything, and like we're certainly on the edge of our seats for any other upcoming news that's coming up.
Yeah, I look forward to coming back. I mean, I was at the very first Astronomicon 2 years ago, and these guys took care of us really well. And I remember, excuse me, I remember we arrived on the Thursday and it snowed, but then it continued to snow throughout the rest of that weekend. I think the total was about 10 inches, and the fans still came out. I mean, I know everybody up there knows how to drive through that weather, and the city itself knows how to handle plowing the streets, which they did. But I remember just going like, oh my God, there's going to be this snow all weekend. No one's going to come. And it turned out everybody came out. And that's the great thing about the fans of Twiztid and all the other bands and in general. They don't care. They're going to come to have a great hangout and have a good time. And I know I'm going to enjoy myself like I did last time.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to speak with me. I appreciate it. Like, I'll definitely tweet over links and stuff when the feature's live.
Well, yeah, definitely hit me up. Let me know when you put it up, and give me the link. If you don't have my Twitter or Instagram, it's Brian C. O'Halloran at both Twitter and Instagram. The letter C, and there's no spaces. It's just Brian C. O'Halloran at either one. And let me know, and then I'll retweet it and put it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Not at all, Kristen. Thank you so much for doing the article for us.
Absolutely. Have a good afternoon, hon.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.